Welcome to FreightWaves Now, Wednesday edition style tip of the cyclical cycle. I'm Chad Prevost coming to you with a couple of market experts. Seth Holm talking about truck company failures and Anthony Smith hitting us with some employment.
Hi, this is Seth Holm. Today I'm going to be talking trucking failures, which is a brand new feature in Sonar under exit.usa. Trucking failures, we got this data from Broughton Capital going back 30 years all the way back to 1990 on a quarterly basis. One important thing to talk about with trucking failures is how do we actually measure a trucking failure? The way we measure trucking failures is through bad debt expenses or defaults to creditors. We don't use bankruptcies, and the reason why we don't do that is sometimes they're not filed, and when they are, they're often filed on a lag. And so that makes the data not as useful. So turning to the chart, here's the trucking failures going all the way back to 1990. As you can see, every few years they tend to pick up. You got a big bout of trucking failures in 1997, you got one in 2001, you got one in 2008, and you got a sort of a small one here in 2013 and 2014. So we really haven't had a big increase in trucking failures in almost 11 years. Now finally, we took a look at the data and we analyzed it with Professor Jason Miller at Michigan State University. He's a logistics professor, and we wanted to take a look and see, what actually statistically causes these trucking failures. And we came up with three main variables. The first one is the number of truck failures in the quarter before. Now that's kind of one of those weird statistical things, but the last two will make more sense. The second two were an increase in diesel prices and a decrease in trucking contract rates. Now, I don't want to give too much detail because I've got a deep dive on this topic coming out on Saturday that will hit your email inboxes. And I've also got a white paper for Sonar subscribers coming out in the next week or two. So thank you very much.
And now we're talking with one of our economists, Anthony Smith, talking about truck transportation employment and cross-comparing it, Anthony, with employment non-farm. Can you explain what that means?
Of course. So, Chad, just like you mentioned, we're looking at employment numbers. This is the most recent data put up by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. In the green line here, we have total non-farm jobs, and in the purple, as Chad mentioned, we have truck and transportation. Within the green line, overall non-farm, we saw a nice uptick in June, really erasing some of the weaknesses that we saw in May. Now, within the total non-farm sector, it's typical to see that growth really be driven by the services industry, and June was really no different, with a lot of growth coming from educational, professional, and health services. Within trucking and transportation, we see that early on in the year and a little bit of last year, there was a little bit of an uptick last year and then some flattening out going on in the beginning of 2019. Now, as of late, we saw a nice movement up within total employment for trucking, but something to really kind of keep in mind for this number is that it doesn't just have a direct correlation for truck drivers, but also takes into account management and administrative roles. Overall, the economy is in a good place because, Chad, as I always mention, it's important to look at where the consumer is, and there's a direct carryover effect from when we look at the employment numbers. This is a huge spillover effect when we look at retail, and this is a market that we're going to monitor closely for the remainder of 2019 at FreightWaves Now.
Thanks for tuning in to FreightWaves Now today. Each and every day, we're bringing it to you, coming to you as early as possible so this information is actionable for what your needs are. You know where to find us. Social media, share the love. We'd love to see you there. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow.